Alive. Uh-oh. Hang on. Hang on. There's no viewers anyway, so this is all good.
Yeah, we'll just hang on.
What happened? Ah, crap.
If you want to be in the know about how we put together our little show, no as we go, go, go below the frame.
Now square!
Hello! Welcome to Below the Frame, all 12 of you! Woohoo!
35!
Oh, 35! Say hello to the Muppet Room!
Hey, how are ya?
So, this is the season 3 premiere, y'all. Wow! Remember back in 2016 when we started this little thing, and now here it is, 2018.
56 viewers! Oh my god!
Sweet! So, hopefully it will keep going up instead of going down. So we have kind of a crazy schedule this season at Sesame Street. We're shooting season 50, by the way, right? Everyone is season 50. We have kind of a crazy schedule. We shoot a lot of times during lunches, so we're kind of thinking that maybe we'll just do, whenever we are inspired to do a show, we'll do one, so it might not be every Friday or every Thursday or whatever. We'll just do one when we're like, we want to do a show about penguins, and then we'll just do it. Somebody write that down. Penguins.
Wow.
Great. Okay.
Hey, I gotta say hi to my sister. My
Oh,
sister
there you go.
Diana just logged on. 88 viewers.
Very good. We got Stephanie behind the camera.
Hello.
We've got a bunch of people in the room here, and so here we go. We're going to talk today about Caroll Spinney's final day on Sesame Street. Those of you who are watching probably know that he announced last Wednesday that he was going to hang up his Big Bird pants and put his his trash can away and focus on being retired and having a nice time, probably going on a lot of trips and stuff like that. And so last Thursday he came to the set and we had a lovely time with him, and that's what some of these people in the room are going to talk about. And then we'll talk about the retirement party that that was hosted by the Museum of the Moving Image just next door. Sesame Workshop provided a lot of stuff for us to be able to do a great party for Carroll, and we'll talk about that and kind of the details of that. It was a really special event, and let's talk about Carroll's last day. Anybody can chime in at any point. So Carroll came in, we were shooting a show. I'm not going to give it the details about the show that we were shooting, but it's for season 50. That's fair enough, right? Right. And so Carroll came in, and he was on the set a couple of weeks ago, but this was a kind of a special event, and a lot of people were present in the room, including that guy over there, Frankie Biondo.
Frankie!
Frankie, you're backlit. What are you thinking? Sitting by the window. Your lighting's terrible. Say something, Frankie.
I love you.
The royal you, right?
Frankie's like, what? I wasn't told I was going to say anything.
That's right.
You're not saying anything. No, that's fine.
Could talk about Carroll?
Absolutely, you can talk about Carroll. What did you think when you saw him on that?
One of the greatest men I ever met. In the beginning, I thought he was a nut job, and then he became the greatest guy I ever met. He's a daredevil, all right.
Yeah, he is.
Big time. When I saw him roller skating, and then he had one of those, what do you call those, tricycles?
Unicycle.
Oh, unicycle. I thought, this guy's crazy. Then one rap party, he came up to me, he says, Frankie, can you show this? And I says, what? He got bungee jumping off a bridge. Wow. And I go, there goes my job. Anything happens to him, forget about it. At that time, we didn't replace Muppets.
Right.
The greatest guy I ever met, never got tired of keeping that costume on for a picture for a young kid. Never said no.
Yeah.
And his wife is just beautiful, too. We had a great
Debbie.
time.
Yeah, so Debbie and Carroll came into the set. They came into the arbor on our set, and we're just surrounded by people instantly. As he came into the room, I feel like we applauded him. We brought him over. Gordon mic'd him up. He kind of stopped performing back in 2015, so we kind of pick up. He does the voices, and so he was on set providing the voices for Big Bird and Oscar that day. No, not Oscar. He doesn't do it now. But for Big Bird, and it was a lot of fun. Debbie kind of sat next to him. She had his script. She pointed to his lines when it was his time to go, and he said those lines like a professional. It was really cool. Anything? Any observations from? Oh, we do have some pictures from that day. So
You want to show
thank
them?
you. Yeah. So I'll thank
Sorry.
you, Alicia.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thanks, Alicia. So this is everybody kind of gathering around. You can kind of see them. There's
Well, this
Carol
is-
there.
What I like to show, and I printed this one out, the wall, you can't appreciate the wall of people that are behind the people with the cameras that you see. Because it was just, everybody had their cameras out.
There's Carol and Debbie. Nice. Marty was there, dressed in his. We were doing a snuffy scene, so he came dressed appropriately. And
The detail.
yeah, look at speaking of the detail, look at the inside.
Ah, fantastic.
This is Carol during the scene over there with Big Bird and Oscar.
Yeah.
And then
While they're showing those pictures, I was crammed under the table there in that last shot you may have seen, and behind Oscar, behind the business that was going down, and kind of listening to the hubbub going on, and I was reminded of one of the first days I actually had an interaction with Carroll on set. He looked down at me, and I was holding Oscar, and Carroll was kind of notorious with the puppet shop for not really liking Oscar to be fixed. Like every once in a while, puppets get dirty, worn out. They have to be, replaced or rebuilt sometimes. And according to legend, they tried at least once, maybe more than that, to rebuild Oscar, and he just never liked it. So they wound up having to refurb the original Oscar, at least the original green Oscar. And there was a point where he was kind of looking, and I kept doing the side eye, and he eventually said, "How old are you?" At the time, 34. Like, uh-huh. That puppet on your hand? It's older than you are. There was a little bit of venom in his voice. The only time I ever heard that. Oh, it was pretty amazing to think that his part of his career was on my hand from the get-go. It was kind of awesome.
His DNA was in there.
Yeah.
that's right.
It's also a little like people who say, I got socks older than you.
Not only was Carol there that day, but we also had a bunch of other people there that day. A bunch of longtime veteran human cast members helped me out. Who was there? We had Loretta was there. Loretta Long.
Sonia
Lozano. We had
Emilio
Emilio
Delgado.
Delgado. Alice Bartlett. And what's that? Desiree Cansano was there. Yeah. So it was a big group of people. I thought there was a picture floating around of everybody, and you could see them in a picture, but maybe I don't have that. It was so great to see them. They were all coming for the party, and we just gathered around Carroll, a bunch of us, and took tons of pictures with him. He had great stamina, and he was just you could just see that twinkle in his eye. He was just he was really enjoying the love that was there. Anything else about Carroll, his last day? I feel like when he spoke his last lines as Big Bird, and when Sean said, "All right, that's Caroll Spinney," I feel like the ovation went on for minutes. It was a nice.
It was a very moving moment, I have to say. I
Yeah.
think that all of us just couldn't believe. I've been working with Carroll for 35 years, known him for 38 years, and he was the first person to say to me, "I think you could be a Muppeteer." And he said, "I'm going to tell Jim Henson about you." And it was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I was living in Hawaii at the time. And he said, "Come on up to the East Coast. When you get there, we'll introduce you." And he did. But that day, hearing those words, that's Caroll Spinney, it's a rap on Caroll Spinney, I still can't, it still makes me cry. I can't believe what he's done for all of us all these years. Is just amazing.
Let's go real quick over here to Joe Hennis from
Sorry, folks.
Workshop.
Hi, let's
We're going to take a pause from that moment before we talk about the retirement party.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about just a piece of Big Bird and Sesame Street history that you have
Yes.
brought with you from the archives.
I did. I got permission to take something out of a museum. So, you guys ready for this? So I want to see how many of you recognize this thing that I've got in my hand that I've taken out of.
Torah?
It's not a Torah. I don't know if you recognize it.
Who knows?
Big Bird
Who
in
knows?
China.
Richard knows. Anybody else?
Yeah, so this is the original scroll that Big Bird used in Big Bird in China to make his way through China. These are all the different spots that he had to find along the way so that he could meet the Phoenix.
All right.
And this is like, my hands are actually shaking a little bit from holding this.
Say a little about that?
Yes, please.
So we filmed the first scene of Big Bird in China in Chinatown, and in a store, in an antique China a store in Chinatown, he discovered that Big Bird saw that scroll, and that started him on his journey to China to find the bird there, the phoenix. So he first saw that image, and that started the whole journey of the special.
That's right.
And
Yes. And now here it is. It's made it all the way from Chinatown through China, and now it's here in the Muppet Lounge.
Be really careful with that, Joe.
I'm afraid that the sweat from my hands is gonna make it onto the and bleed the ink.
Thank you very much.
Yes. What a great thing. All right, it's gonna go right into a museum. Sending it to the Smithsonian now.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Joe.
You're welcome. You're
So
welcome.
let's talk about the show that we did for Carroll. So, first of all, the show was brilliantly written by Andrew Moriarty, who's right over here. Andrew Moriarty. With portions written by Stephanie's husband, Craig Shemin.
Hi, sweetie.
So there were real
And tons
quick,
of
Andrew-
contributions from this room, like everybody in this room.
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
partner, which was awesome.
absolutely. But so the idea for this show was that back in May we had done a show at the Jim Henson Company for the Center for Puppetry Arts, and it honored Caroll Spinney, and there were some bits in it. That whole show was written by Craig, and there were some bits in it that we wanted to do here, but we also needed some other stuff to hang the rest of the show around. And how did that kind of? I mean, it came about very quickly.
Yeah,
was
it seemed like it was like
fast.
in like 2 weeks we kind of put it together.
If that.
And then it was down to the wire.
Literally.
For some of it. Rehearsals, day of, and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it really came about just from, having something that celebrates Carroll and all the amazing stuff that he did. Like so many game shows. We did a game show bit because he was in so many 60s and 70s game shows. And we obviously wanted to, explore different things throughout the years that were great. The Bird-Gateers, Grouch-Gateers, Snuff-Gateers, which were in our open. I think we have some photos.
A lot of people wanted to talk, so I'll talk through the show. I was thinking I would talk through the show. So we wrapped early on Sesame Street. We ran over to Momi. We very quickly tried to cobble together a rehearsal run through. To be honest, I really didn't. I was unsure that it was. I didn't know it was going to go. I didn't think it was going to go very well at all.
Same.
I didn't. Really, right?
Oh, yeah. It was,
Well,
I was
who
like, oh, I don't
hosted
know.
this, man? I mean, who was hosting
the
this,
host was-
this thing?
So I hosted it. So that's why I knew we were really, screwed. But we did some fun bits, and let's talk about those now. So to start the show, I wore this lovely number from Brian Hemeseth, our costume designer for Sesame Street, and it was a 3-piece yellow suit with feathers. Yes, looks like this with a Bird-Gateer hat. You see there in this picture also Marty Robinson with a Snuff-Gateer hat on, and then Eric Jacobson with a Grouch-Gateer, kind of an upscale Grouch-Gateer. Yeah, it's kind of upscale.
Fancy.
But we did a fun little introduction, and that was kind of fun. Got another? Yeah. And that was a lot of fun. Then Marty introduced Jeff Dunn, who spoke on behalf of Sesame Workshop, and they presented Debbie and Carroll with this amazing cuckoo clock, a custom cuckoo clock. Alicia, can you talk just a little bit about that, just to kind of, I saw it, but you're on.
Hey.
Tell us a little bit about the cuckoo clock. Like, where did it come from, or do you remember where?
So Jackie actually coordinated getting the
Jackie,
cuckoo clock
right?
from
Jackie, you're talking.
a special.
Sure. So
Tell us
the
about the cuckoo clock.
cuckoo clock is from the American Cuckoo Clock Company.
Yes.
Based in Georgia. Wow, 2 cameras.
This is below the frame. That's below the frame.
So
B-roll.
shout out to Jody Davis, who designed this clock based on the 1, 2, 3 stoop. In record time, it usually takes about 6 months, and she whipped it together in like 3. And it's the 1, 2, 3 stoop, and Big Bird's on there, and he goes side to side when the clock cuckoos, and Oscar's in his little can, and he'll pop up with his lid on his head. It's really beautiful.
we get one?
All right. It's custom, one of a kind,
It's custom, yeah.
I believe. Is this below the frame over here?
Hi there, we're from below the frame.
Hi.
We're just documenting all the stuff that happens below the frame.
Below the frame. welcome to you.
Hi, below the frame.
When we
All 7 of us say hey.
okay.
Hey, we have 125. I think this is a
when
record.
we first said Caroll Spinney's name, everybody just got to their feet, and there was another huge ovation for Carroll. We have a picture of Carroll standing there. Do we have a picture? Here's a picture
Let's get some
here
light
of
on that.
Carroll standing there with his son Ben and Debbie and a huge group of people. It was really cool.
Amazing.
So Jeff talked about all of the contributions that Carroll had made to Sesame Street over the years. He presented him with the cuckoo clock. He also had he read a lovely letter from Joan Gans Cooney, who was unable to be there, and it was really nice. So then we did a sketch that was written by Andrew. It was a What's My Line sketch with no picture of that. Yeah, we don't have a picture of that, but that was hosted by Guy Smiley, and it was featuring Cookie Monster and Ernie and the Count. And they were blindfolded, and we were trying to guess who the special celebrity was, and it was Carroll. So that was a lovely little sketch that we did, and then we went to an actual clip of that What's My Line with Carroll, and maybe I have that clip. I might be able to link to it on my just that it's on. I think it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
Still.
You can find it. So then Emilio Delgado came out, and he said some nice words about Carroll, and then Elmo, and Abby, and Big Bird came out and sang Carroll's favorite. I almost called it Big Bird's favorite song. Carroll's favorite song, "Smile."
If you
written
don't
by
know
Charlie
it.
Chaplin.
Smile though your heart is aching.
With Emilio.
About that? You have
Well,
any
you know
comments
what?
about the?
It's breaking.
It was it's such a tricky song to sing because it's heartbreaking, but at the same time, it had such a nice moment with Emilio and Elmo. It was almost like we were giving ourselves our medicines because our heart was breaking, yet we were celebrating at the same time. So the song really, I thought, resonated for the evening, particularly that night with having Carol and everybody there.
Yeah, with live music by Bill Sherman, our music director.
That he was wearing a ridiculous like
Elton John.
Yeah,
Elton John coat.
sporting his feathers.
Big Bird stayed out there, and he recited a poem called Carroll, which is a lovely little poem. And then Oscar and Grungetta and Sonia came out, and they sang "I Love Trash." That was a nice moment as well, seeing Sonia on
Sorry.
stage with Oscar and Grungetta.
Don't really see the faces of the brilliant people under them, but as you could probably tell, there was a monitor in the back where you could see the puppet performances large
Yeah, there's
and in person as well.
a different.
Then Marty came out, and he wanted to say a couple of little things too. And then Marty sends his regrets. He wishes he could be here for this, but he had another obligation for lunchtime. But he had a cup with him, and he talked as Snuffy through the cup, and it was just amazing. It was really sweet. Any thoughts on that? Any
He
comments
walked
about
off
that?
stage and I punched him because we had to go on very shortly afterwards for the next bit, and I was going to be performing, and
Ugly
I
crying.
was projectile crying. So I punched him, and I think he actually took that as a badge of pride, because Marty's like that. But it was beautiful. It was heartbreaking and lovely. Really.
So then we did Great Moments in Spinney History, which was this kind of a sketch written by Craig Shemin, and it was about great moments in Spinney history, including how he got his first jobs on the Bozo Show, how he met Jim Henson, and how he met Debbie. And there's a picture of that right here.
Who played Caroll Spinney?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, who played Caroll Spinney? Alan Maroka.
And that's before the goatee got put on.
Yes. He was awesome. It was hilarious. There's another photo here. This is during this is with the Jim Henson puppet.
That's during rehearsal, I believe.
During rehearsal, yeah. And then there's one other picture there of the group, I think during the show, maybe not.
Yeah.
No, that's during the show.
During the show, that's
There's
during
the
the live
Debbie
show.
puppet.
That's right, the Debbie Spinney puppet. Because a lot of the Caroll Spinney history has to do with Carol meeting Debbie.
Yeah.
At a Henson reception was the other characters, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, you see Roosevelt Franklin, Sherlock Hemlock. Back there's Forgetful Jones.
So then from there, it's a fun sketch that we did at the CPA event in May, and it was awesome to redo it. And Alan was hilarious. Come on in. Come on in.
Oh, they're
Michelle and Lars, come on in, have a seat. So we have a special guest calling in a minute or so I want to try to get through the end of the show here, the end of what we did in the show. We Frank Oz sent a video.
This is one of my
Frank
favorite pictures. It's
sending a
during the
video.
rehearsal. Matt hosting and Frank being Frank. And he shot it portrait.
Yeah,
just
I
need
know,
to
what the
mention,
heck?
He shot it portrait.
Like
Prolific director.
That is his actual size.
angle.
Then Pam, Carmen,
From
Stephanie,
below.
Leslie, and Jen sang a lovely little song called "Sweet Caroll Spinney." I don't even want to go into the details of it. It was just lovely. It was wonderful. They all kind of crowded around Carol. It was so good. Then we had a Caroll Spinney highlight reel, and then everybody that had a puppet or that was a human cast member came on stage, and we sang sing. We sang sing. That's what we did.
So
It was really nice. Now, also at the end of that show, then we went and had a reception with a cake
Oh my gosh.
that was out in the lobby, and that cake looks like this. So the cake is from the Cake
Carlos
Boss
Bakery.
folks. Carlos Bakery, which they did an amazing cake for us for season 40, and then this cake, unbelievable. The guys were there, and it was really, really great. So we are going to wait for a special guest that I'm hoping is calling in right now. I hear it. So we have a special guest that I hope is on the right time zone. And if not, we're just gonna figure out what to do. What do you got there, Alicia? Anything?
Hey, let's see that Roosevelt Franklin puppet in the back.
Look at that.
Hey, Jen Barnhart, talk about the provenance of that Roosevelt
Oh my
Franklin
puppet
puppet you brought in.
Well, I gotta say,
Oh
my
God.
Oh my God!
It's a little weird.
Give me the head.
Where's the body There was more of it.
It was happier before.
It's just her.
But we couldn't get rid of it because it's so nice. But we don't know what to do with it.
Wow.
Don't stay too long.
Hi there.
So, thanks, Jackie.
Thanks, Jackie.
So,
Bring me the head of Caroll Spinney.
Quick, Tyler, say something. I'm gonna help somebody over here.
Be more specific about the amazing speech that Marty gave. I want you to understand that Snuffy spoke to Big Bird, but Snuffy very specifically kind of recalled the time when nobody really could see him but Big Bird, and he actually asked the entire audience to close their eyes and imagine Snuffy was there to see a couple hundred adult human beings leaning back in their chair with their eyes closed with this huge smile on their face, listening to Snuffy give his ode to Big Bird was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
So we've got a special guest on the phone now. Debbie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, Debbie Spinney's on the phone.
Here we are.
Hi, Debbie. Where are you guys?
We are in San Antonio at the Alamo City Comic Con.
Wow. That's
Yeah, we flew
fancy.
yesterday.
That sounds like a fun time.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. Whoop, hello?
That's Carol's new persona. How cool. How cool.
Well, Debbie and Carol, we were just talking about last Thursday, what a great time it was to see you both, and we were talking about the show after at MoMI.
It was one of the most awesome things that ever happened to us, for sure.
Did you have any thoughts on any moments that stood out for you that you're thinking of right now?
Oh gosh, you just went through the whole thing, so it was like reliving it all over again. It was it was just so spectacular. Of course, what you had to say, Matt, was so touching, and I still cry every time I think about it. And of course, Marty as Snuffy was, like Jennifer said, you know, it was projectile crying, and Jeff Dunn was, you know, just wonderful. Everybody was wonderful, and of course, my favorite part was not really, but I loved seeing myself as a Muppet. It was so good. And I must say, I have a crush on Alan now because he looks just like Carroll. Oh, and you might see Carroll in the sunglasses here, and the reason is he's decided
No,
he
we don't.
changed
We
his
actually
mind.
don't. We just hear you.
We
Yeah,
just
we
hear
only
you.
hear
We're not
you.
seeing you.
Well,
Yeah.
Carroll's decked out in his little shades. He looks like a movie star.
He's really
And
cool.
he's decided that retirement isn't for him. He's coming back.
All right.
No, just kidding.
Oh.
We were gonna have another party.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, it was wonderful. It was it couldn't have been better. It was just we're still over the moon, and I hope we get to see lots more pictures of it. And gosh, we really hope they were taping it so we can show all the friends and family who didn't get to see it. But it was so spectacular. Everything, you know, the What's My Line made me crack up. And of course, Carol was crying when they were singing Smile, which is, of course, the whole opposite of what the song is about.
Yeah. Well,
It touches him every time he hears that.
well, thanks for letting us talk with you, and thanks for letting us honor you guys, and thanks for being a part of our lives. Gordon, yeah, Gordon here. He wants to say something real quick.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late.
That's all right,
I
Gordon.
thought I was gonna miss it. I didn't want to miss you. There's never been anybody like you before, and there'll never be anybody like you ever again. You know?
We love you.
We love you
Thank
right
so
back.
much.
Okay.
Gordon.
Hey.
He's looking at you right now.
Well, before we close it out here, I want to say that like right after the Below the Frame show, Debbie was mentioning, gosh, I hope they taped it. Well, you know, we have archival video of it, and in fact, thanks to the good people at Sesame Workshop, I'm allowed to post 3 bits from the show. So right after this show on my Facebook page, there'll be 3 of those bits from the show that you can take a look, and you can really see what the show was like.
Fantastic.
It was this great. It was a funny, moving. I thought it was just a lovely tribute, and I thank you, Andrew, for writing it. Thank you, all Muppet performers, for being
Thank
part
you,
of it.
man.
Thanks to all the cast, everybody here.
Thank
now
you,
we're gonna-
Wranglers, for making it possible. Thank you,
Yes.
Wranglers, for making it possible.
So now we're gonna-
So many puppets.
We're going to close out our show right now with something that we did during Carol's retirement party. It's the sweet Caroll Spinney song. So here we go. So Jen is going to lead this. We'll see you next time on Below the Frame. Take it away, Jen.
Thank you, everyone.
It began on the street where Carol's going to play on a grouch and an 8-foot bird. He'd roller skate, throw trash and count some numbers. Snuffy his pal and his favorite word. Filled with trash, yelling out, telling you all to scram. Sweet Caroll Spinney, la la la, can never look so good. So good, so good, so good. Smiley and grinny, la la la, makes us laugh like no one ever could. Oh, he turned the world, Spinney, he loves to travel. Christmas is spent in Ireland. He's written a book, Star on the Walk of Fame, yeah. Not only a legend, he's our friend. Yellow feathers feel so good. So good, so good, so good. He's not a ninny, la la la. Debbie loves him like no one ever could. Oh, sweet Caroll Spinney, la la la. His Christmas card so good. So good, so good, so good. We can't begin, la la la, to thank you for building this neighborhood. Sweet Caroll Spinney. Love you, Carroll!
2 o'clock. Back to work. Warm up and cheers to the set, please.
Okay.
Hey, say it, Sean.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
What are you gonna tell us, Sean?
I'm gonna say,
We're back!
There you
All right, we're back to work. We'll see you next time on Below the Frame.
There's a puppy in the ceiling. There's a puppy.
Back to the salt mines.
You all made it sound great. So
Thanks, Matt.
You said not to talk about him, and then the whole song you put the camera on me. I didn't know.
I might have had a little shaving of heads just to getting used to the gimbal, but because I mean, just seeing when it was off center, when you play with it more, you'll know what I mean. But hopefully, it was all. And